Banjul project jógee ko Brikama. Percent bi yëpp góor la soo su nekkee jigéen dafay nekkee ida benn o ñaar la di nekk waaye 99% bi yëpp góor la di nekk so moo tax affaire si xaw a naka xaw a métti tuuti rek waaye waaw.
nekk na koo xamante ni ku neex a liggéeyal la ba pare bon bëggul lu mu gis loo xamante ni liggéey bi laaju ko rek da koy teg si yoon.
waaw su nekkee side boobu noonu moom. Not exactly waaye ñu ma dee jàppale mooy ñi nga xam ne they go to the extent of employing me xam nga pour gën a xam nga joxe lu ma am si suma lii bi what I have like lu ma mën a implement xam nga ñu jàppale boobu noonu at least si loolu rek laa mën a am and I'm so grateful loolu moom waaw
nekk bu rafet lañ nekk def bu mu commencé liggéey si compagnie yàggu fi nag mais def bu mu ñëwee ba tey daal waruñu benn jikko boo xam ne mën nañoo wax si moom lu ñaaw parce que heure liggéey su jotee respecté na heure xëy respecté na tamit heure wàcc te bagage yi tamit bagage bu ñu ko wax bi dafa manqué dina jéem a dem toppatoo ko wax dëgg si office bu ñëw dina am temps yoo xam te day xëy du mun a ñëw parce que day jaar office ndax problème bu bagage bu koy toppatoo waaw wax dëgg si yàlla.
I'm not sure dama amoon jigéen bi nga that I looked up to but later part as I was going on dafa amoon benn jigéen bu ma demoon studies in Ghana she's also a site engineer and yeah she's an engineer so. moom nu mu mel xam nga si joobee kaayam bi so loolu moo daf ma gën a jox inspiration xam nga to move further and further.
waaw man kay time doo ko wax rek pour léegi matériel dafa dee bina ku nekk la yow jox ke amu xale ku mu la gisal dafa la ñëw te moom yëpp lam dee wóor ba man suba booba dama ko dee wane sax muy sax mel naaj bi daf dee métti sa kaw.
anyways lu ma wax mooy man depuis kañ I just believe in myself. te loolu moom moo tax am maa ngi si level bi up till now dama believe in myself and moo tax and xam nga yeneen say word of encouragement from people okay keep up with what you're doing xam nga yooyu noonu yëpp there are things that is just pushing me further and further waaw.
liggéeykat la ba pare respecté na liggéeykat yi ba pare dana teg ci yoon boo xamante ni liggéey bi day mën a jaar yoon.
yeah sure when it comes to work yeah. I like work, yeah, but I also like cooking and doing house chores, especially having the whole place very clean and all that. I have a social life too. You know, so I go out to party, yes, which is also part of me. I like to socialize, yes. So that's adult for you.
Côté liggéey moom dañuy liggéey waa liggéey si passé moom mën nañ def leen waaye côté liggéey moom am na lu muy def moom.
tey nii sax maa ngi koy am na ay bagages yu manqué mais yëpp jël na kayit noté yëpp ba yónnee na ko pour ñu lijjanti loolu waaw loolu moom xam naa ko boole ko tamit jigéen bu am jom la waaw parce que jigéen boo xam ne ñi may suba teel 6 heures du matin day fekk mu jógee foofu ñëw si chantier ji liggéey kooku jara jàppale la.
When it comes to engineering moom time moom daf ko day jël obviously but I have my social life out of work. Right? Affaire si danga koo balance. You know, you don't allow work to overtake your social life and you don't allow social life to take over your, you know, your work life. So affaire si danga koo balance nga xam ni nga ko mën a demale parce que you need to keep friends tamit so yooyu noonu yëpp da nga xam ni nga koo manager. So if you believe in yourself and you know what you can do. Anyways, life itself is challenging. All right. So in this job as an engineer, challenges will come. But if you believe in yourself and you have the passion about what you do, obviously you will get to where you want to be. Yes.
Football moom yaaga naa ko play because fii nii Gambia moom football dafa nekk suñu deret so depuis time yi xale laa dooroon di play so dañ daan nekk di play si mbedda beek ak yooyu noonu posu ndaw it was nice to grow up here. maa ngi tudd Mohamed Mbaye. maa ngi juddoo Latrikunda Mampatokoto foofu laa juddoo. maa ngi demee school dem naa Mrs Ndaw comme ñu bari xale yu bari foofu lañ jaar ba pare tamit dem naa JC Faye. maybe Gambian football maybe duma daan follow maybe national team bi a lot because xale laa woon waaye foog naa man suma football dafa génn bi ma demee Europe daal waaw si laa gën a door di play football. waaw bi ma demee Europe nag man doon nekk di play ak benn team bu ñoo ooyee Hammarby mu nekk Stockholm Sweden foofu di nekk seen youth team bi waaw so foofu laa play bi ma njëkkee dem Sweden. bi ma start suma career like central midfielder laa woon waaye after in 2010 suma club in Sweden time boobu noonu suñ coach bi mu try ma si as central back so léegi nag bi ma try as centre back nag mu door di ma fa play regularly so from there nag si la door nag di play centre back waaye suma main position is centre back waaye dama dee mën a play si midfield bi tamit. football maybe nit ñi dañoo gis rek li nga nekk di play si pitch bi waaye li nga dee jànkuwanteel si biti moo dee ëppa waaye soo amee gom-gom bi sa bopp rek da nga dee mën a go through so am nañ ay difficulties nag yu bari so mun naa maybe duñ mën a wax yëpp man yàgg naa di playal Gambian team bi yàgg naa di since suma first call up was in 2009 préparation bi maybe loolu tamit daf daan xaw a slow comme waxtu bi ñoo jot tickets yeeg ak yeneen stops daal si yëpp si préparation bi la daal ku nekk nag gis sa fault accept ko ba pare ñu dem together foog naa loolu moom moo ñoo dimbale always look for solutions instead of pointing out so da ngaa gis ne loolu buñ si continuer rek dama foog ne dina baax waaye ba léegi daal xam nga nañ seet on the positive side rek because tamit loo gis il faut muy raam ndanka xam nga bala moo mun a taxaw waaw so si raam bi leen nekkoon so ñu ngi taxaw ndanka so fu mu nekk nii dama foog ne rek nañ look forward lépp loo xam ne defoon nañ ko mu nekk mistake foog naa ñun ñëpp xam nañ lan la both players ak management bi yëpp so fu mu nekk nii daal let us just learn from our mistakes ba pare rek ñu gën a improve waaw foog naa loolu rek moo fi nekk mu nekk sa dëkka ba pare yàlla baaxee la tamit nga bokk si ñi nga xam ne about millions of people yoo xam ne bugga nañ pour nekk in that sport ba pare yàlla baaxee la yow nga nekk in that sport so loolu sant yàlla rek la léegi-léegi nekkul si sa jàmbaar waaye léegi-léegi yàlla tamit xam nga moo la fa dee teg so da nga gis ne national anthem bi tamit ñun ay Gambian leen so te dañ bugga suñu réew waaw dañ bugga suñu réew so xam naa loolu rek la it's just emotional waaw suma dream mooy woon rek Gambia mun a dem ba jot like a great competition lu mel ni African Cup of Nations wala World Cup so loolu noonu foog naa Gambian si yëpp a ko bëggoon musa bugga parce que loolu musuta am so man dama foog na ne objectif bi ak dream bi yëpp loolu la woon parce que gis nañ fi ay dëkk yu bari yoo xam ne romba nañ ñu dem nañ ba qualify pour dem African Cup of Nations ñun Gambia mënuñ faa dem te still ñi fi njëkkoon ñëpp ñu ngi nekk di try seen level best waaye fu mu nekk nii dafa mel ni rek yàllaa ko soog a tudda parce que lu jot rek moom yomba waaw so loolu moom moo nekkoon always the dream to reach in the highest competition. Playal sa dëkk ba nga reach to this level ba pare nga nekk part of the history loolu foog naa daal generally ngay playal national team that is the highest level that you can reach. yoon bi dafa important boo xam ne dem na si 9 years bu yàlla ji xasee taw fii benn oto du fi jaar.
min ko Binta Diallo mi yiyete ko jaaren ɗo mi jooɗi yimɓe an ɗo gorko kan mi ɓooyi ɗo on haade follo ko ngesa mi remata mi watta faro so joni mi fuɗɗi yaade ɗo waɗa faro kono gole fuɗɗi wadde ɗo faro alhamdulillah rabbil alamin.
This is part of the decentralization process, and my responsibilities include representing the president in the region.
maa ngi juddoo Ñaamena fii ma juddoo dëkk baa ngi fii Jos 1.5 kilomètre ak dëkk bi wulu mbang bi mi ngi jaar ci suñu ginnaaw dëkk bi kon fii xam naa fi.
tampere ndeng aray kitale goɗɗo men liggoo haray mi heɓata haydara min liggoo min tampa ha heɓiɗo hitande wonde min liggi hay abbere maaro yoori fof min heɓani maaro kono ha hande min nangi Allah mi wiya min gollo aray duuɓi goɗɗi min heɓa adduɓi goɗɗi min heɓata.
And also overseeing most of the, or almost all the institutions that are operating in my region. And this includes CSOs, civil society organizations, it also includes prosecutors, it also includes investing partners and several others.
maa ngi tudd Fatou maa ngi dëkk Kuntaur yaa ngi ko fekk CRR maa ngi dem school this year la graduate Kuntaur Upper Basic School maa ngi dem Amity Junior Secondary School dëkk bi comme flood bu daan ñëw fii jafe-jafe la woon daf ñu over sonal si dëkk bi ndox bi dafa dee dugg si këri nit ñi si néegi nit ñi si kaw yoon bi sax pour jàll sa problème la nooy doxee sa problème la waaye biti MDA ñëw fii nii dañ leen ay sant ba pare dañ ci kontaan bu baax.
My name is Sana Dahaba. I'm the Executive Director, National Disaster Management Agency under the Office of the Vice President. The National Disaster Management Agency is responsible for the management of all disaster and their effect in this country.
Ndeto mu fantaleti nkonto jara leyin sato kono ja sanji mo muluta jang adingol soto jang nenta jang way jobi na tumo min kata nya bata atara nabungo ni sama nata nga wulla nga si
bu ñëwee ba kër Kaatim ñu nga génné ci Dalaba yenn yi dem génné ci Cioya ndek fi ndox mi seret du fi mëna jaar raay day duñ fi mëna jaar ndek ndox mi num demel
yoon bi dafa nekk yoon bu important dafa baax si ñun parce que balaa yoon bi day am da ngay bëgg a romb da ngay ñëw fii nga wàcc dugg ci ndox bi génn fekk yaa ngi ab bagage bi mu ngi root si biir ndox mi fekkee dugub la xam nga dafa yàqu wala gerte boo eggee nga weer ko xam nga loolu coono la dégg nga wala nga bëgg a dem jaari fekkee da nga mën a yeb 5 bag balaa yoon bi 2 bag nga yeb ok fekkee yoon boobu amee da nga mën a yeb 6 bag kon loolu njëriñ la ci yoon bi dégg nga balaa yoon bi day am moo tax dëkk si dëkk bi a ñëw ba jaare nga fanaan doo mën a jàll pour ñibbi sa kër guddi gi mën na tawee doo mën a xool ndox bi dem liggéey xam loolu coono la.
man bind naa leetar ndax alkaali bi laa waxaat bu kër Kaatim na ko na nga bind leetar kër Kaatim gi man ma foofu laa juddoo na ko na nga bind leetar nga jël kayit bi nga yóbbu ko kër Maali ma dëkk yi yoon bi war a jaar yëpp bu si nekk na ko alkaali bi sign stamp ko ngeen yët ko gouverneur bi.
But besides that, it also the local administration constitute the chiefs, the alcalis, the other rural organogram setups, and several other issues that I'm supposed to look at on behalf of the Gambia government. That includes like the local administration in general, land administration, other civil issues, and so on and so forth. These are all components of our responsibility in the rural sector as governors. And we, in other words, overseen other sectors like agriculture, health, education, you name it. We are like supervise the body to them. Like in the region here, we have a technical advisory committee which advises the governor's office on the various institutional performances. and then keeping cognizance of that, you are there to also monitor their output and be able to give support and advice as you move on in your administrative system.
yàgg nañ koy apply nag ñoom ci ñi nekkoon ci APRC si taay ni Yaya Jammeh.
boo defee yoon bu baax nit ñi dafay jaar kontaan bi nga am kooku xol boobu noonu seddaay boobu noonu yow mën lu ko fay yàlla moo ko mën a fay kon yàlla na ko yàlla fay Adama Barrow yàlla na ko yàlla fay yàlla na ko yàlla yàggal ci réew mi dégg parce que nit ki kuy liggéey lañ bëgg waaye boo toogee liggéeyu la amul njëriñ dégg nit ki boo ko falee nga ne ko maa la teg fii liggéey lii.
for 22 years ku ñu nekk opposition ñu doon ànd di struggle waaye jamono boobu suñu struggle yëpp mooy pour ñu nekk la ñu bokkee ñun ci ñi génne Gambie ci coono bu mel nii mu nekk risque bu métti kon suñu demee ba taxaw tey ngeen ñëw interview ci développement bu mel nii loolu da nekk effectif ci ñun da nekk sant yàlla ci ñun.
Despite being under communal instructions, you are almost the last port of call. From there is almost now the judiciary and the Minister of Local Government to take charge. Because almost all land administrations are locally administered by community, alikalis and the chiefs. Then the governor's office also have what we call the land authority, and that also looks at the various components of land administration in the region. We're not limiting our functions to that. It hosts others. Yeah, we have a lot of other formats. It may not be very formal, but as a head of a region, you can claim to oversee several other functions that are of government and other local institutions.
waaye yoon bi boo gisee mu important boo xoolee ci gannaaw fi jaaring fii moo fi am luuma ci gox bi yëpp li ñaame la.
Notwithstanding, talking about the projects under his administration, President Adama Barrow entails a lot. Besides the road network, which besides easing the communication, it's also improving the commerce in the region. I can boast to say that CRL has the greatest number of lumus which are categorized as international markets.
The lumo bi dafa important. waaye da nga gis ne Casamance fii boo demee ba génn Gambie dëkk saraxule yooyu yëpp seen dund fii la day jógee. Casamance area bi yëpp seen dund jaaring fii lañ koy jëlee si da nga gis ne buñ daan am file bagage da nga gis ñoo xam ne sax dañ koy jëlee fii yóbbu ko ba Bureng ñu jël yoonu Bureng yoonu suuf boobu doog a dem boori jaaxal te loolu dafa sori ba ëpp waaye da nga gis ne fu ne yoon bi ubbi buñ ko ubbi nii ak defar buñ ko defar waa Casamance sax dañoo wax ne yoon bi ñoom la ñëwal ndax ñoom lépp loo xam ne dañ koy jëfandikoo marchandise bi Gambie lañ koy jëlee si.
If you look at the lumos, it entails merchants from all walks of life. Neighboring Senegal, Guinea-Bissau, Guinea-Conakry, Mali, you name it. It comes from various places over the sub-region to look at that. Wasu being one of the most popular one, Brikama is another one, Jare, you name it. Several other areas in CRR have definitely been boosted up by those economic activities.
Li daal mooy li nga xam ne moo gënoon a taxa ma taxaw si yoon bi pour mu am ndax li ma la ko waxee rek 9 years fii yoon bi bu yàlla ji tawee kenn dootu fi jaar te mu yoon boo xam ne nag bu important lii daal moo taxoon ma taxaw si waxtaan cee président bi ñaan ko si mu dimbale ma si wax ak NRA.
The Bansang, let me start from there. It is part of the decentralization process, and I think those type of facilities in the rural sector or in the midst of the country or in the middle of the country would better advise the whole system's operation in the state. And to have meteorological data information accurately, there must be decentralized assessment, and that's one facility that can better inform the head office about some of the distribution pattern of rain and its effect and impact on people's life.
It gives me great pleasure to inaugurate this magnificent hydrological complex on behalf of the government of the Gambia for use by the Hydrology Division of the Department of Water Resources to monitor the water quality and quantity of the country.
and the staff gauge we are seeing is recording water level. And this information is vital for us to manage the water resources of the country, as the information helps us to determine the water availability in the river in terms of whether there is a drought or there is a flood period. Because throughout the year there is always fluctuation of water. During the peak period, the flood period, there is too much water, and then during the dry period, like from April, May, and up to June before the rain starts, so normally there is low water level. So this helps in terms of water allocation and also water abstraction. And this information also is really needed for us to share it with other countries, because the water is transboundary. It's flowing from Guinea and through Senegal and into the Gambia. So there is, it's very important for us to share this information with other riparian countries for transboundary water cooperation. And this is very vital in order to avoid conflicts, and because they are also using it as we are using. So we need to share this information to see how we can holistically manage this common resource for the benefit of everybody.
Ki lu ñoo laaj ni ci walu liggéey président bi damay jël fi sax njëkk ndax ni jëriñum aduna yëpp du ci mbas rek Gambie yëpp la ndax lii tey yaakaar naa ñu ko sooro am bu mel nii te ci Gambia kon du Bansang moomuñ ko Gambia ko moom ndax tey képp ku fi dugg mi doomi Gambia sa xol sedd na ci liggéey bi ni mu bàkkee ne ni mu rafetee te ni mu gaawee man du ma wax Bansang ndax ci mën a Bansang dafa mel ne li njëriñ Bansang rek la ndax li njëriñu Gambia yëpp ñoo ko bokk waaw.
This facility consequently will be used to serve as a hub for the collection of all hydrological data necessary for analysis and planning, and dissemination of such information to all key stakeholders.
Now, CRR can be categorized as the breadbasket of this country in terms of food production. You have visited some rice fields in the region, and you've seen how much we are expecting this year, a bumper harvest in all kinds of food, from cereals to grains and so on. We are expecting a great yield out of them. And having those productivity and having an access road is important, because that access road is going to lead the production to a better market. And I think these are gigantic steps taken by the government, and not actually the main highways, but feeder roads, which includes the Nyamena West, Nyamena East Highway, starting from Jaren through Nyamena West to the border in the south. From Pachar village now, we move into the Maru Farms. That's the common Gambian word, Jahali Pachar ends. Pachar is a rice cultivation area demarcated by government and currently occupied by partners in development in terms of private sector participation in rice cultivation, harvesting, and even provision of employment.
Hello, Governor. You're welcome.
So how have you been here?
Alhamdulillah, yes, we are doing very well, and this is really a busy time for us, processing, packaging, harvesting, and all of that. And we were able to, to get a lot of rice from the farmers. A lot of work was done this past season here, so that has not been done for a long time.
If you haven't harvested everything, we want to see a demonstration of it. If so, then that's all right. It's okay with us.
That's not a problem.
We really would want to see how your combined harvester is really working.
As you can see, those are all milled and packaged. So we're trying to package about 6,000 bags of rice in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
I want to know that.
So basically, but we were able to raise, the yield per hectare for the 257 farmers under our growth program by 2. So initially they were just having 2 to 4 tons per hectare, but the average yield for a farmer in our grower scheme has been about 6.3 tons per hectare. That's a really great improvement, and I think we can even do better than that if we have the proper the mechanization in place. So my name is Musa Dabo from Bansang, and I'm a proud farmer. And about Maru Farms started with a phone call in 2012. I was in the US, received a call from my family that they wanted me to buy them a bag of rice. I was shocked because we never had to buy rice, but my father passed in 2009 and they have not been going to the rice field until they called me in 2012. Then I wanted to revive our rice farm here, but I realized they were not willing to do it. And then I tried to encourage them to go back to the rice field, but they would not go back. And then I remembered growing up as a child, I never liked to farm because it was so labor intensive. Then I tried to look into why even people even need rice. Then I realized in Africa, in the Gambia locally, is about 130 million US dollars worth of rice that we eat every year. In West Africa is 7.4 billion US dollars every year. Then I said to myself, why do I need to be in the US? And then the other problem was, do I really want to come back to the way of farming that we are used to? Then that was the time I started to look into the American rice farmers. But I found out they are using aeroplanes to float their rice fields. The Gambia, as a country, we do not even have a plane. So then I said, well, there has to be a middle ground. That was the time, I started to look into Asia and stuff like that. And then I also found out that we have enough water. All of the natural conditions are not there. And we are even able to produce rice 2 to 3 times a year. If we have the right, the mechanization in place. And this was when I took a leap of faith. I made a decision that I wanted to come back and farm. And then I had to go and find another job. I was an engineer, I was paid good, but I had to find another job, to try to put money together, to have a good start. And then in December 2018, it was when I finally came home. So right now, this is about my 4th production. And then I'm also able to reach out to the local farmers. Right now, we have about 257 farmers on the house, and we're trying to increase to 2,000 farmers for next year. And all our rice is produced here and packaged here and sold here locally. So we're trying to see how much more we can produce locally, to be able to reduce the importation. Apart from that, it is a huge place for employment. We are employing so many people here. I have about 19 permanent employees. More than 200 women benefited here from labor and stuff like that. So, alhamdulillah, the farming is great. Land tenure system is a big problem. People like this idea of my grandfather, my great-grandparents were here first. That's not going to help us.
You see, when we go to Sierra North, still, I will add on Nyanija. Nyanija, if you go to Nyanija, Nyanija has no roads. Worse still, if I tell you that women at that time crossing the river to get to their rice field, some drown.
Wala yoon bi da nga am bagage pour bëgg ko yóbbu dal doo ko mën a yóbbu. Mala nga am sa doom feebar nga bëgg jóg si guddi gi tam doo mën a jóg. Dégg nga yoon fa amee léegi da nga gis koo xam ne am na ci yoo xam ne ñu ngi jaar fii wala yoon bi kenn du fi daan jaar wala yoon bi kenn du fi daan jaar.
That's a very pathetic situation, but notwithstanding, government is coming in to make sure those trends are off the system. And I think they need to be commended for that move. The Nyanida road, which is I call it the Hakalang road, one of the longest routes, the most difficult route in the whole of CRR, is getting constructed. This will include traffic flow, easy movement of the people, movement of foods and agricultural productions to markets, access to rice fields, and several others. Health facilities, education facilities. And if you look at that road now, is despite being in the interior, the hinterlands of the country, with difficult accesses, there is construction of new schools across that place. So we are hoping that enrollments will boost, and we're looking at quality as the next step.
kon daal ñu ngi koy ñaanal daal yàlla na fi yàgg yàlla na fi toog ba jógal boppam yàlla na ko yàlla bu jógee yàlla na ko yàlla yëkkati yàlla na ko yàlla yëkkati ci jàmm yàlla na toog ci jàmm dégg nga daal yàlla na ko yàlla defal jàmm daal.
And talking about electricity distribution too, currently Bansang having its own electricity power system. We're expecting to run at least 19 hours electricity supply. The 4 hours which is of deficit, we're anticipating that the company would look at how they could improve that 4 hours to make giving CRR also a 24-hour supply. So we're anticipating that is going to happen. And not limiting to that, we're also looking at the OMVG, which is capturing most part of the region, not only starting from the Bansang and right down to Banjul, but also the Lamen Koto up to Diabuko Batapa system. We expecting the tender have already been given, and I'm sure the people have already applied. Tender close sometime on the 6th of October. So meaning the construction of poles and then lines could come anytime sooner for those people to also benefit. And it's one of the succinct areas in electricity supply, meaning that region will have, every household will have electricity. Maybe the cost is now what we're going to think about, affordability of the people.
The National Disaster Management Agency is responsible for the management of all disaster and their effect in this country.
Biri bi bu yaaxoo balaa ñu ko doon defar banta lañ fa def ñu kal si digga bi pour nit ñi duñ fa daan romb moto sax du fa daan mun a jaar even cycle du fa daan mun a jaar because amuñ yoon banta bi pour tànka rek la soo bëggoon a jaar foog nga wiiree beneen yoon li nga mun a génn dëkk bi su nekkul loolu doo dee mun a génn because problème la woon pour nga génn sax even ñeneen ñi ñu amee tànka sax duñ dee ñemee génn mag yi duñ dee ñemee cross bridge boobu noonu because dañ dee wax ne óorut.
See, CRR North have been very deprived over the period of time, from the First Republic to the Second Republic. Alhamdulillah, this republic is looking at most of the difficult things in the region. One is the road network, two is the Kuntaur flood, which has damaged a lot of buildings, and then a lot of life have been in mess.
There was a flood on the 27th of August 2017. By then, I was not the executive director. I was appointed in November as the executive director of National Disaster Management Agency. By then, this this flooding issue about Kuntaur was on the table. This was why I was compelled to go to Dhaka. I went to United Arab Emirates Embassy and actually seek for an appeal. And eventually, I got a response from Bin Khalifa Foundation through UAE Embassy, who has committed $1 million to support Kuntaur.
I was born during the colonial time. Through my experience and my knowledge, this town, Kuntaur, was one of the best in West Africa. Because I could remember many West African countries were coming to find their benefits in this town here, Kuntaur, like Ghana, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Mauritania, Mali, Guinea, Senegal, and many other West African countries in those days.
This support actually was meant for the houses, and as well as tree bridges and flood protection dike. When we consulted, initially the support was going to be a camp. They were going to build a camp. But because of the nature of our settlement and our land tenure system, we asked them that that camp may not be applicable as far as Kuntaur is concerned. So this was why we negotiate with them so that they can give us houses that will be specifically built in each of the houses in Kuntaur. When we quantify that, we were able to get 23 houses from foundation to key to each of the disaster victims, as well as we built two new bridges and rehabilitated one, and also come up with a flood protection dike. Because with all this investment, if you don't protect the village, the investment will be futile. This was why we prioritized the flood protection dike. That's currently under construction.
And constructing those buildings for those poor farmers and poor people is a very great stride by the NDMA on behalf of the Gambia government.
But through the help of the VDM and the disaster manager people like Mr. Dahaba,
Sana Dahaba, he really did a lot for this town. So as time is going on now, we are seeing at least some recovery in the town here, because you have many buildings here. Most of the people who were so much disturbed, now they are very fine in their houses so far.
I just want to thank the government of the Gambia for creating that conducive environment in terms of disaster governance in this country, because we are only able to do that if we have the right political environment and political commitment, and that's what we are getting from the government. Infrastructural development is a key priority. I think it's one of the number 8 priority in terms of national development plan. This is why MDMA as an agency is taking it as a priority to make sure that we address the infrastructural development that's embedded in the national development plan. Historically, this water is all the way from Dinakonakry. It comes through Kaimansala. During rainy season, this causes a serious flooding in this community. This is why we build this access bridge to the village, so that in terms of any economic activity, the village will be able to be accessed. This is why the village identify it as their priority, and NDMA also respond to their priority.
Kontano ka mbo folale kontano lumin na fanga nyum bungo soto nata ja lota ja nganyum bungo ja wolu ngando jande fo ndata man sima fam fente fo kontano bulu katu mbe dami wotu mo manen be dami bi e manka kilenti wala nan ka fo ko min ya natin kanna alama alay kayroke alama alay so sima ala kata sana dahaba anala alandaro mol min biye nyum bundanati alama alay kayroke kata na dipito min fana yalon ka lota nya jam fana alama alay kayro ka anala dimbali han kontanta baka nyum bungo fo min bebi jen tata nyin sembo soto la ka kija katum ni nga bungo lo fana ntanyin kelaje mbake la doron sal nin cabinet danko doron korketo ni mi en sadala nga kala doron nga dum bungo la wante nyin soto no la birin karo fo kamoli fo fengoli ka be kija nta sembo soto la wala tin nambe ala danna masakunda mi yenyum futandi manala malay kan laftani nyon jama la min fana ma soto.
Whatever you do in this country, I think the biggest challenge that we have in this country is social media. Social media is the biggest challenge in terms of all development interventions in this country. Unless you don't want to see, but what NDMA is responding with the support of the government, I think that's evident. The infrastructures that you have seen here, all the work that you have seen yourself, I think that can serve as an evidence anywhere in the world.
The Gambia is increasingly prone to windstorms, droughts, floods, rainfall variability, coastal erosion, and sea level rise. When coupled with existing socio-economic challenges, these impacts on development and increase the country's vulnerability.
And the dike, which is also the flood-prone system, because if you look at the genesis of flood in Kuntauru, we would agree the fact that Kuntauru can be flooded any day, any time through any rains. But the dikes are there to protect, and it's a multi-million-dollar investment.
As it is, the Gambia is a low-income country with a high dependence on agriculture, which make large segments of the population extremely vulnerable to erratic rainfall and other climate-induced events.
Looking at the road constructions in the southern part, as I've mentioned in Nyamina East, the Maru Farms in Jahari Pachar, and the Sapo ends, and the road rehabilitation in Bansang, and different places.
As we speak now, the water is being used for irrigation. If you look at the famous Jahali Pachar, they also using this river water for irrigation, and mainly use it for tidal. So all this is important because there are various uses. Others are also using it for transport, like the boats and then the ferries, the GPA. So also the fisheries are also using it. So not only the aspect of the water quantity, but also the water quality, because the various uses also needs a certain quality to meet their own use criteria.
Farmers have been experiencing shorter crop growing seasons due to drought and shallow wells that provide supplementary irrigation to their rain-fed systems drying out too early in the season.
CRR is becoming an all-year-round cultivation area for rice production. Tell you what, when we were going down through the bridge this afternoon, I will show you a project that runs from Tabanani across Sankulekunda, moving onto Sukuta Fuladu. This is about 200 to 300 hectare rehabilitation of the pumping system and the rice fields to make pumping system possible and to make tidal irrigation also possible. So if the pumps cannot pump, you use tidal for it. And the beauty about it is not going to be fuel, it's going to be solar energy. So it's the solar pumping system that will be there to irrigate the rice field. This is all to help boost up the income level of the women, not limited to that, but also reducing their labor exertion in the fields, improving their productivity, the roads increasing their access to markets, and a host of others. The youths, it's now open. Now, in fact, there are several projects for the returnees. Those who are returned from the EU, European countries, and came back, are almost 50% of them, or 60 to 70%, are integrated to use this agricultural process. Some are on animal fattening, poultry keeping, agriculture, rice production, cereal production. The rainy season, the upland, they use it for cereal production. And when that is done, they move into the rice fields during the dry season because there is irrigation possible. And this also boosts the productivity and income level of the locals. You see, the government is doing really its best to open up the region to vast areas of opportunities, from trade to health, education, agriculture, which is the survival of the state, is really boosted because there have been supply of machineries, though not heavy machineries, but machineries all over the area. And the region have about 56 ports where we have the power tillers, milling machines and others.
Although the Gambia is blessed with sufficient water resources, which should make the country able to meet future demands, including requirements related to the economic development and socio uplift of the population. Seasonal water scarcity occurs.
But we are thinking about how can we modernize the system of agriculture to boost up productivity. Maru Farms is a classical example. It's a PPP where an investor is investing through the support of government and partnership with the farmers. Now we can boost that. Gambia is producing its own rice, bagged in a very decent and civilized manner with excellent labels, and it's in the markets. So we can be eating our own rice and so on. I would propose if we can eat our own oil, which I hope is going to be the next part, because looking at this year's groundnut production, we expecting a high yield productivity in groundnut. Now, but what next? Our government has stated its price. We're expecting them to buy all the groundnut. They are going to be processed in the Gambia, and the seeds are going to be separated for the farmers. Again, the production of those groundnut, we should be able to process them to have our own oil. So we need a refinery system that I'm sure the government is working on, as we've discussed with the Minister of Agriculture. So we are on the trend. We are really on the move. Next 5 years, besides my own, CRR will be a model in this country in the next 5 years. I can say that proudly. It will be a model in all facets, because what we are anticipating is like, we will not want to be exporting our produce like our groundnut. We want to process it in CRR. And the groundnut cake, what we will aftermatch, we will use the groundnut cake to process animal feed. And when we process the animal feed, it means we are boosting animal production, ranging from cattle to sheep, goat, chicken, etc. We can produce their foods in the region. That will boost the region's employment rate. Youths will have definitely something to do. And unless we all focus on that, put all our energy and our resources in it, it's achievable. It's not rocket science. It's only supporting government to get us what we really want. And we need to do that in a way and in a method and in a means. If we say let's go back to the land, let's go back to cultivating land. When productions are boosted, the government will now think, now there is bumper harvest, heavy high production of this yield, what do we do next? Now the government strategists will plan that. And then that comes on board. It goes on simultaneously like that. You plan, you produce, you plan, you invest, you process. Next plan is marketing. You look at markets, domestic markets and the international markets. You look at all those trends and see that is in itself the economic trend of growth of any nation.
Well, okay, if you compare to what used to happen in this way, I think what used to happen and what's happening now is, I leave you to judge that. You media, I leave you to judge that. But under the government of President Adam Barrow, the agencies are able to operate within their institutional legal mandate. That's the difference. Instead of somebody, the government direct you to tell you to do this, if you are able to do it within your institutional mandate, that's what we are enjoying today. This is why anybody can say anything, and you can go and sleep without being harassed, intimidated, or castigated.
That's a self. That's myself. I believe every human being is a human being. Be it me, be it my child, be it my family or a guest, it's just a human being. I'll better think of doing something good for you than thinking of anything destructive to you. I think I'll be wasting a lot of time and resources in planning to destroy you or trying to hate you or trying to bring you down. The effort I'm going to use in getting to that will be far less in the efforts I'm thinking about doing good to you. This is my philosophy and I believe in that. And I think the better I help you, the best for me and generations yet unborn. I believe in the theory, or a common saying, the good every man does lives after him. But again, the evil you do also lives after you. I just think I want to make every human being comfortable. Not I can give everybody everything. No, that's not the connotation. But how can I make you comfortable? If I have to frown on people, the suffering I may have from frowning is more difficult than smiling. The generosity I can render to people, I think it's much more easier to be kind and generous in giving out than being refusal, because there I will think about how can I hide, where can I do it, what am I going to do, and being open to people. Like, I feel everybody is a good person until you prove different. But my being you is not going to change. Be you a bad or a good person, my mood and my things will not change. You cannot change me by your feelings, because I will be more steadfast in my own feelings and approach than yours. I will try to be more focused on that one. So meaning, just be bad. If I want to be good, I will keep on being good, right? If you want to make me bad, I will really feel very sad and bad because you want me to feel bad. So this type of feelings troubles me a great deal. But besides that, I'm very comfortable with a lot of people and everybody almost outside. That's why you see me with the youth, with youngsters, the elderly, and everybody else. I don't have any problems with them. And I feel very comfortable getting associated with the lowest person everybody can feel is the poorest. You see me out of this office, I'm at the poorest people's houses, compounds, villages. When I'm back here, then the noble people will drive and meet me here. That's life. Because those people cannot come, let me go out and meet them. Those who can come, let them also come and meet me. And that's the symbiotic way we can build up the world for a better person for everybody else. To me, I'm viewing the National Development Plan as a trend. It's not the limit of its own. It's a starting point. We start moving and then we build on top of it. And I've been always advocating and telling people, you see, development can never be put on a bottom or in a bottomless pit. It has to be consolidated as we move on. That's what development can be achieved. Now, if there is already a school, you don't need to build another school. You need to think about enrollment and how to improve that school, living conditions, its environment, and how to boost up its educational, facets and so on. And that becomes a better school. Now, the NDP, if you look at the facilities or the trend of the development, road construction, decentralization of health facilities, access means to markets, market availabilities, boost in production, machineries for limited labor, etc. This is the trend of development. If we have all these things moving on, then that means we are on the trend of achieving the NDP goals. And NDP goals is mainly aligned with the SDG goals. So Sustainable Development Goals, SDG goals, and this is what the nation is all yearning for. So to me, it's a trend, and we have started moving. And the more we consolidate our efforts, we will have to move faster. It cannot be stopped, it will go on, but consolidation of energy, views, whatever, is going to make it go very fast.
If you see, there are two governments in this country. Social media has a government, and then there is government of the day. I think what government needs to do is to come out and to kind of create the avenue of publicity. Instead of being reactive to situation, whatever government is doing, they should come out and tell the people that what they are. That's the only way that you can counter social media. Because if you don't tell your own story, somebody will tell your story. That's the whole issue about social media. Government should come and tell their story so that social media would not tell their story. Because once they tell their story, that will be fully distorted. That's what we are seeing today.
A government is an entity that is supposed to create the enabling environment which is now existent. When you talk about democracy, everybody is free to, we have your own ticket and franchise to exercise your democracy. But we should be very much focused on productivity. Let's look at the productive sectors, all of us together, and allow it to grow. It is a pity when you look Gambians relaxing more and allowing foreign people to take up ownership or to practice in most of these productive sectors. And then the income of those people, those citizens, is going to be reduced to nothing. And the claim will be reduction in the government, in availability of opportunities, drowning or suppression of this and rights and privileges and so on. No, grab the opportunity you see. Let's consolidate our efforts. Let's all be together and work harmoniously. Then we can foresee a development in the nearest future. But the moment we have divergence views, in fact, is a success to productivity. But again, failure to incorporate them productively in the system becomes the rise of enmity, hypocrisy, and separation, which is a bad trend to development.